Hi everybody, Jaleesa Campbell here. Today I'd like to share more with you about my article entitled Understanding How and Why College Students Engage in Learning. Article by Twyla Lukowiak and Jana Hunsinger. This is Digital Platform 3, vlog on Scavenger Hunt for Communication Fluency. Here's what we'll be talking about today. So first I'd like to ask, what is student engagement and learning? Then I'd like to look at analyzing student engagement and learning. Then the research problem, purpose, and questions, methodology, research methods, Twyla's beliefs about student engagement and learning, findings, lecture and discussion, conclusion, and then finally the works cited. So what is student engagement and learning? Student engagement and learning requires a combination of behaviors, motivation, and higher order activity. And if you remember from my previous vlog, with behaviors, this is referring to students' actions and reactions during class, motivation referring to their willingness, and higher order activity referring to students being able to make connections between things that they've already learned and the new information that they're learning. Analyzing student engagement and learning. Now, an instructional practice inventory, or IPI, coding system was used during classroom evaluations to assess student engagement and learning. And just to tell you guys a little bit about this coding system, it went from the numbers 1 to 6, 6 being the highest, meaning that the students were the most engaged, and 1 being the lowest. Only trained data collectors were authorized to use the IPI process. And just to go ahead and tell you guys a little bit more, Jana was actually one of the co-investigators. She was using this system while evaluating Twyla during this study. Now the research problem, purpose, and questions. For the research problem, there was a decades long dip in college student engagement during the early 2000s. Ooh, okay, right? However, the article does explain that this was starting to go back up with more effective practices. And the purpose of this study is to help Twyla and other professors as well better understand college students' engagement in learning for the purpose of improvement in practices or policies. Two overarching questions, if you guys kind of remember in my previous vlog, and I said that if you stuck around, I would answer these questions for you. So number 1 was, how do college students engage in learning? And then number 2 was, why do college students engage in learning? For methodology, heuristic phenomenology was used, and this involves studying human experiences, such as student engagement and learning, in which the researcher takes part in order to better understand him or herself or the world. And you guys think about the word phenomenology. That's one of the traditions that we looked at, and we know that phenomenology involves human experiences, right? And the word heuristic deals with being able to learn or build from something. So when you pair the two, we're looking at human experiences through looking at students' engagement, and the heuristic side is looking as being able to learn and build from looking at these experiences. Research methods. Research participants and co-investigators. Over the course of 2 semesters, the students were participants. The instructor, Twyla, was also a participant as well as a co-investigator. And then we had Jana. She was a co-investigator as well. For data collection, data was collected through classroom observations, professor-investigator written reflections, and student course evaluations. And then lastly, for data analysis, it was guided by 2 research questions to include other coding processes as well as a student focus group. Now I'd like to share with you guys 3 of Twyla's beliefs about student engagement and learning that she had prior to this study. Number 1, she believed that student engagement in the classroom hinged more on the teacher than the student. She also believed that investment on both the student and teacher's part was important. And then number 3, she believed that the culture of a classroom contributed to student engagement. And I believe that all 3 of these are valid beliefs. And then next, I'd like to look at the findings plus the lecture and discussion. Now, the way that I've broken this down was that I put together practices that were approved by the students or practices that the students really liked, and then practices that weren't approved by the students or practices that they didn't like. Okay, so in number one, the first practice that the students liked included lectures that were captivating through personal, relatable stories, emotion, and video clips. And then number two, they liked small and large group discussions that focused on real life situations with real people and a real problem that you're trying to solve. And this actually comes from one of the students' quotes. So this student valued being able to work on real life situations amongst others. And then number three, projects that included case studies for the students to get involved with. Okay, the students really enjoyed um, actually being able to work on a curriculum adaptation um, for other students who may have had learning disabilities. So the students actually enjoyed being able to adapt a curriculum. That was something that they liked. Now let's look at the practices that were not approved by the students. Number one, raise your hand if you loved multiple choice and true false chapter quizzes. Probably not. Okay, these students did not like that as well. They didn't like these types of quizzes that only involved memorizing minute details rather than focusing on big ideas. Number two, the students didn't like student presentations on chapters without understanding their benefits. So the students wanted to know, if they're going to do this chapter presentation, how is this going to really help me? Or how is this relevant to me? Number three, they did not like not having enough time to listen to other students and share their own ideas. So they wanted to listen to each other and be able to share their ideas, but have enough time to do it. And then number four, they didn't like not being well prepared to complete projects. The students wanted to be prepared when it came to a project or an assignment. Okay, now let's look at discussion. This leads me to answering that first question that I mentioned earlier. How do students engage in learning? Number one, make them think. Get creative and collaborative. Facilitate higher order thinking for students. Okay, so that means actually going deeper than the surface level than just straight factual knowledge, allowing them to be able to draw on experiences and things that they know to get them to making connections and transferring knowledge. Number two, give students the opportunity to share, monitor engagement, and give them time to reflect. Okay, they like sharing, but we also, as teachers, we got to monitor them and make sure that they're engaging, and also give them some extra time to speak and to think. And I thought that this was a very powerful quote. This was by one of the students. The student said, "If professors allow us to sit quietly in class, most students will multitask. So they need to make it difficult for us to do that." And I thought that that was a very interesting and good statement there. And then my second question, why do students engage in learning? Number one, when there is a connection between the classroom and real life, they will want to learn. And this piggybacks off of some of the things that I've already said um, in regarding practices that were approved by the students. And then number two, when there is an injection of entertainment and humor, students want to engage. And I think that that's very true. Here's a quote from one of the students, and I thought that this was very interesting. The student said, "I think she made class enjoyable and fun, which is really important, even at the college level." So I believe that anybody of any age levels, a younger or older, you want to be engaged. You want to be able to relate, and oftentimes being able to inject a little bit of humor can help. So that gets students to want to participate. In conclusion, findings reveal students were motivated to engage in learning when they viewed information, activities, and assignments as relevant, felt emotionally connected to the course content, and experienced positive interactions with their professor. It was suggested that these findings can benefit professors in all disciplines, and this type of study should be considered to help professors better understand how and why their own college students engage in learning. And these are my references. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions or you would like to speak with me further, please don't hesitate to shoot me an email. Thanks again and have a great day.